So conflicts are normally amongst the team members or with the amongst the stakeholders. But as far as the negotiations are concerned, we did talk about that this is where there is an agreement between two parties, like you and your customer have a contract or an agreement. You and maybe your subcontractors, you have a contract with them. So there we need negotiations. Here we need conflict management. So if you do not resolve the conflict, the matters will, you will start getting poor performance. There will be destructive behavior, animosity, and naturally the reduced productivity. And if you can manage the conflicts better, then naturally people will be on the same page. They will have improved understanding of everything which is happening. They would be able to give better performance and higher productivity. As far as predictive and hybrid projects are concerned, all team members and stakeholders are responsible for managing conflict. This is not only the responsibility of the project manager. Project manager just ensures that all conflicts are resolved well in time, but everybody has to take the responsibility to resolve the matters among themselves. So project manager can just provide them direction and he can influence them in a manner as if they can be guided for better handling of conflicts, and that is done through interpersonal skills or maybe servant leadership. And you can notice here that servant leadership is being used in predictive and hybrid as well. But if you remember what I said earlier, leadership is the only way possible in agile, that is mandatory there. But even in predictive and hybrid projects, you can exercise servant leadership for better productivity. And for handling conflicts, servant leadership could be a very good tool. And naturally, if you have got good interpersonal skills, that could also add to your better management of conflicts at the project level. What could be the causes of these conflicts? Maybe, people are competing against each other, or maybe they are having competition with another party. So competition breeds conflict. Differences in objectives and values and perceptions. That's exactly why we say that there should be a common understanding amongst a team about the objectives of the project, about the scope of the project, about the strategy alignment and all that. So everybody, as I said, should be on the same page. If they have got differences there, naturally that will breed conflict and they will start struggling with those ideas. Then we have disagreements about role requirements, work activities, and individual approaches. That is the mechanics of the project which you have designed among the team members. If they have not mutually done that, they do not agree with each other on what roles everybody has to play, what activities and how those activities are to be done, and everybody has got a different opinion about it, that probably will breed the conflict. Or if we are, the biggest problem normally in conflict is that we are not talking to each other. There is a communication breakdown. We are supposed to communicate something to someone and we are not doing that. And ultimately, there is a misunderstanding that probably I have not done my job because I have not informed the other party. And the other person might be considering it my incompetence, whereas it is just simply a communication breakdown. So communication breakdown must be avoided. You must be cordial with people. You must communicate with people. Whatever has to be informed to anyone, that must be done well in time, and it must be ensured like it is like a feedback cycle. You must confirm that you have received the message and you have understood it. That would ensure that there is no misunderstanding due to communication breakdown. Then, as you understand, projects are unique and team members not worked together before. These people who are working on this project, on this team with you, might not have worked together before. So there might not be a lot of understanding already. So if there are gaps, we have to bridge those gaps and they must be cordial and well understanding amongst themselves. Well, as you know, in a project, we have got a unique team. Every time we may have different people in our project, and therefore some of them we might know and might have worked with, others we may not have worked with. They might be new to, there may be a first time opportunity that a team member has been added to this team, which already knows each other, but this person we don't know. So for that, if you remember, we have got when we are forming the team, we do have two stages: storming and norming. That is to neutralize this effect of an kind of strangeness, as if we are strangers to each other. So the team members should not remain strangers to each other. So that could also be the cause of the conflict. So these are some of the causes which I have just defined to you. And now let us talk about conflict as part of team culture. Now, there is something very interesting here. Generally, it is thought that conflict is bad, and definitely it is usually bad. But do you think of an opportunity where conflict can be used constructively? Yes, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Where, like you said earlier on, storming is a constructive process to
Hmm.
bring a team to norm and perform.
Right. So
It also,
that will reduce the conflict. But I am saying, is it good to have conflict sometimes?
yes, I think it's a method, a realistic method to raise issues that exist that could become worse in the future. It might
Right.
identify systemic issues in
Right.
role clarity or an approach.
Okay.
And having a conflict is no bad thing necessarily. It's the reality of the world.
Right, right. So, yes, you are very right in saying that voicing your concern is good and well in time, much before something grows out to be a conflict. If you can voice the concern, you may differ with with the team. You can say, okay, what if this happens? So, the people who are kind of creative and innovative, they can play a very important role here by raising the conflict earlier than usual and thus providing us an opportunity to recognize the conflict and to take necessary measures to resolve it. So view disruptions and innovation as connected. So such a innovative kind of a person who kind of disrupts your normal flow of thinking is usually not bad. Sometimes it is good as well because it is giving us a warning which is forthcoming. Then encourage exchanges and disagreement. Well, I have talked about the psychological safety in the work environment, whole of your team should feel free to coin their opinions. They should not be restricted. They should not be barred from coming up with new ideas. But that is encouraged. And that encouragement is to be creative, to be innovative, and to come up with new ideas, and the team can entertain them, and thus we can resolve them well in time. You see, when a conflict is up to a normal talking terms, it could be easily resolved by discussions. But when it becomes an animosity, probably we can't do that. We can't resolve it at all, right? So we don't want to promote the conflict to that level. Yes, a little bit of ignition is required, a little bit of sparking is required in your normal, circumstances where you are free to give your opinion, no matter how diverse they are. So encourage these exchanges and agreements, meaning I'm asking you to inject a little bit of conflict in the peaceful environment. And you are very right in saying that normally it can be resolved well in time and later we can avoid a big problem. Prevent escalation to conflict. I mean, the conflict should not get to that stage where it cannot be resolved. So we do not want escalation of conflict, because then we are approaching the limit where we can't get back to the same place from where we started. So escalation of conflict should not happen. Otherwise, we studied escalation is something, if you can't do something by yourself, you can't decide something by yourself, the next higher authority may deal with it. But escalation in conflict is bad. As you escalate it further, it becomes even more complicated. The bigger problem is risen, and ultimately, a time will come when it may become a unresolvable thing. Okay, how to handle the conflicts? Naturally, first thing is that we should have our team charter and ground rules, and this applies to all kinds of projects, where they're predictive, they're agile, or hybrid. So you should have chalked out your own rules on ground, how the team is supposed to behave, and there you could have explained many things what you have set those ground rules about. And one thing we could set your ground rules is the conflict. Provide guidance and resources to help the team how we will behave in situation of a conflict, or in situation where a creative idea is coined, a new dimension is disclosed, and you must discuss it out and resolve it by gaining consensus. In agile projects, agile teams include conflict management strategies in their way of working. That is normal part of their work, because they are a self-organizing team, and therefore they are always interacting with them with among themselves. And the thing we talked about, the psychological safety, that environment is provided. They are free to coin their opinions and all that. And naturally, this is based on total consensus. So, one very common dialogue which we keep hearing about conflicts is that when we have a conflict, we should focus on the issues, not on the individuals. You may not like a person, but that must not be the reason why I should escalate the conflict because I don't like that person. That is not a good reason. Yes, you could have your opinions, you could have the issues, and you should explicitly try to resolve the issue without considering who said what. I hope that is clear.
Yes, I have a question. Let me just.
Mhm, mhm. On the same slide, that previous one.
Yeah, well, it may come up, but how to handle conflict. That would be also a method would be the storming part, right? Is to um, this is more like ground rules in terms of principles, I suppose you could say, or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes you almost have to provide a safe, provide an environment
Hmm.
where conflict can arise, and there's space and time for it.
Yeah.
Um, and because there's other moments where you kind of got to just put your head down and focus on delivery, and
Mhm.
the debate is over, and now it's execution time. So I would say that there are brainstorming moments, there are estimation or planning moments where you're
Yes.
kicking around how to do something, and
Yes.
there is another angle on that same point is that there's the storming part, right?
Yes.
So you should, I coach project managers, and some project managers say we need to steer ourselves away from conflict. And I would say, not necessarily,
Mhm.
and definitely not all the time. And you need to steer the project so that conflict opportunities can arise, and not that you're trying to necessarily absolutely encourage lots of conflict, but that you do give the room for it at the right time.
Yep. First of all, the conflicts when they arise, or when they're at a very low level, we are encouraging the creativity, because at that stage we could discuss them out, right? But if and there must not be any ulterior motive when you are coining a new idea. We are ready to provide you the psychological safety, but that does not mean that you become a total negative disruptor. You are always opposing everything everyone else is saying. That is not the right approach in providing the psychological safety, because you see what you are doing is you are providing the psychological safety to one negative disruptor, and at the same time you are not providing psychological safety to all others who are not protected against that person. That person is trying to bully everyone. We don't want that. We have to give equal rights to everyone. And if we can gain consensus at that stage, matter will be resolved. Conflict will go off. But if we don't, or if we are kind of, somebody is trying to bully around and impose their opinions on everyone, then probably the conflict is going to escalate to other higher levels where it is difficult to manage or maybe impossible to manage. Moreover, forming and storming is not really a conflict resolution strategy. Forming and storming is a team forming strategy. It's like how the team should evolve. So at that stage, the conflicts are not very critical. They are like, in forming, we are like introducing with each other. We are like very in a very happy mood, and we are kind of we want to know about each other so that there is no conflict there. Then when we are in storming, there are certain, differences in our ways of working. They might highlight. Then there is a kind of a competition, who is better than whom in what subject, right? That is a momentary kind of a thing which can be resolved in a couple of discussions, because you would know who knows better and who is a specialist of what, and ultimately you would start the team as a whole will start recognizing people for their specialties, and they will start normalizing. So I would not say that this is a conflict management strategy, the forming and storming, but of course, we lay out our ground rules there. We lay out our principles. How are we going to behave during the project as a team? We lay out those rules at that point in time. Got it?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, moving on. Yeah, this is the levels of conflict. This is important. Uh, these are the 5 levels of conflict recognized by the conflict model by Speed B. Lease in 2012. Initially, whenever there is a problem to solve, that is where the conflict starts. When there is a problem and you have to solve it, whether that problem is within the team, within the methodology, within the way of working, whatever that is, there could be many problems which will come up. And whenever the problem comes up, that means that we have to resolve it. Naturally, it is a conflict. But that is a very low level of conflict, and that, as I said, can be resolved by discussion, by openness, by psychological safety, by whatever, gaining consensus. That should be the target of that. Normally, we should be able to resolve all the issues at that stage. That is where the conflict must be completely eradicated. But if there is something which could not be solved because we could not gain 100% consensus, then there will be a disagreement. Now, disagreement is little dangerous, because you see, now we are in a fight mode. We are trying to impress other people that my opinion is the right opinion and your opinion is not. It's a little bit of debate. Although I will still treat that as a healthy debate, because probably we still are trying to argue and convince others, and maybe we can reach our consensus still, right? So disagreement is not also that bad, but we should be a little cautious that we are getting into the red zone slowly and steadily. If you can't resolve the matters in the disagreements cannot be converted to agreements and consensus, then is the matter that there are two parties one is advocating one point of view, the other party is advocating second other point of view, and they are contesting against each other. Nobody is ready to back out. That is where the bad situation starts, right? It is, it is the disagreement has escalated to the level of contest, and when they are in a contest, then one party wants to win. Each party wants to win, right? So that would be a little difficult. But in a way, I could say it is difficult, but it is still resolvable if you use some sense. If you can kind of provide them proper guidance and mentoring, probably they can get out of this situation and they can resolve the matter right here. But then comes the next stage. If you are in a contest, you can't resolve the matter at that stage, then it is fight or flight. Either we win or we don't do it. We run away, right? So that is very bad. That is, we are actually physically engaging in a kind of a fight, and one party will win. It's like a battle going on. It's like a fight going on amongst the participants between two groups. And well, I don't think anything good comes out of that fight, because even if one party wins the argument by force, that would mean that the other party has lost. So it is completely not a win-win situation. So this is really bad. You should not ever have gotten to that level of fight and flight. Rather, you should have resolved everything up to the level 3 contest. Rather, I would encourage, you should not get into a contest. You should do things in step 1 and step 2. But if you are in 3, still it is resolvable. But in 4, it does not remain a win-win situation at all, right? So that is bad. And the fifth is where you are completely stuck and you can't, this is an intractable situation. And in other words, people call it word war, right? So it is not just a fight or a battle, it is a word war going on. And in that, we don't know. It will be a nuclear war or what, but ultimately, that will be only one party would be winning. There is no losing party. Losing party is dead. They are destroyed completely. So this is a completely intractable situation, and you should never ever let the conflict rise to this level, the fifth level, intractable situation, the world war situation. You should not ever get to that. But if you can resolve the matters in fight and flight, that is also bad, because that is battle or war or whatever you want to call it. But contest is I think, is the maximum you can go up to, where the things may be a little edgy, but still you can get them sorted out. The best is you have a problem and you can amicably resolve it, right? Second is entertaining a little bit of creativity, a little bit of argument. There might be little disagreement, discussion, and then resolution. That is, again, all right. Contest, as I said, the things started getting bad, but still it is resolvable. Fight and flight, there is no resolution. There is one party wins, one loses. And in an intractable situation, only one party wins, other is destroyed completely, right? So you can understand yourself what you should do. You should remain yourself in the lower bracket, 1, 2, and 3 maximum.
But is it quite clear that 1, 2, and 3 could, or does, I should say, end with win-win, while 4 is win-lose and
Yes.
5 might be lose-lose? Is
Well,
that is that literally how it's defined, or?
no, no, no. Yeah, you are right. You're right up to this. But I would say win-win is a problem to solve, right? First level is win-win. Second level could be win-win-lose, more chances of winning and less chances of losing. And contest is kind of a win-win, lose-lose kind of a situation where, naturally you want to win, but it is a little bit difficult to win, right? Because you have to contest, you have a contest, you have to really come up with the argument, and that has to be kind of, because it is a contest, it is a little difficult. So I would, you are right in saying that fight and flight is a win-lose, and intractable situation is lose. Purely one party wins, and in one is number one is win-win. Number two is kind of, a lot of chances to win, and a little bit of losing thing is chances there, which will lead you to the next level, contest level, and that will have lesser chances to win, and more it's more towards the losing side, but still we can deal with it. So you can deal with the things up to level number three, then it will get out of your hand. You won't have any control over the situation. Okay, what interpersonal skills could you use? Well, you are already aware about all of these skills. We have talked about them a couple of times. Emotional intelligence. You see, when somebody is talking to you, you must exercise empathy. Don't try to impose your opinion on them, but try to understand and try to feel like that person, as if you can understand the situation completely. Because if you start understanding the feelings of the other person with which that person is coming up with, probably you will have a softer corner for that person. You will better understand the situation of that person, and we can easily diffuse the situation. Second thing is influencing. Influencing is good, but I am not talking about a dictatorial influencing, that you order someone to stop thinking like that. No, not like that. Influencing is like, giving out some kind of a motivation, some kind of mentoring, some kind of ideas. So persuade your team, like motivate your team to reconsider or change their tone, approach, or mindset. And normally, this is the responsibility of the leader, that when he sees the things are getting out of the hand, the tone is getting harsher or like that, he should kind of moderate the whole thing, facilitate the meeting, in which he should try to cool them down. That is where the influencing comes into play. Leadership plays again a very important role. It steers others in a more positive direction. If you feel that the discussion about the conflict is leading towards a useless discussion, which is not really instrumental to the project, this discussion is going to land us into an escalation. He would like to divert and steer the team towards the positive side rather than to moving towards the negative side. Then is decision making. Offer a solution to move the situation forward. Normally, when we are in a third stage, probably that is where we are kind of have our horns tied. That is where you should come up with an advice for both the teams, both the opinions. You could come up with a solution that, okay, what if we can do this? Do you people do the both parties kind of like to consider that? How about coming up with this? So you can come up with we could offer a solution, and that way the things can move in the right direction. Active listening is very much closely associated with your emotional intelligence thing, where you listen to the other person in a very understanding manner. There should not be any abusive languages used, accusing languages used, no bitterness, no caustic tones. Don't try to bully others or put them on defensive and be yourself aggressive. You could keep a note of that, especially the leader should keep a note of that and try to admonish anyone who is trying to use that kind of language or that kind of tone. So he could steer them clear of the conflict, right? So these are some of the interpersonal skills which could be used during the management of the conflict. Now, what approaches do we have in conflict management. Well, these are the five approaches, which could be, some of the authors may have written it in a different manner, but generally these are the five techniques. Uh, First one is smoothing and accommodating. Now, what is smoothing and accommodating? This is a situation where both parties are very accommodative of each other. They are they're not even discussing the issue. They are saying, okay, if you feel like that, I would like to agree with that. And like, this is really not good, because both parties are ready to lose their ground without any argument. So, practically speaking, I would consider that a lose-lose situation, because both parties are giving up their standpoint without any discussion, and I would not like this approach at all. Normally, when the conflict is very big and people don't want to contest the conflict, and they are focused only on the resolution, not on an amicable resolution, but just some kind of resolution, they will go for smoothing and accommodation. So whatever they say, okay, what are the areas we don't have any conflict in, right? And we both like to have dinner at the same time. Okay, that is a very good thing. Let's discuss about that. We don't discuss the issues. We discuss the commonalities there. And without discussing the issues, we conclude that we are good friends, and we have no demands at all. Both sides have no demand. I don't like it. I don't like it. It is really very bad approach. This does not solve the problem. This actually, the problem goes under the carpet, and after some time it rises again. So this is no good at all. The second approach is withdraw or avoid. You see, this is not like you are agreeing with the other party, but you are again having a negative approach. You are ready to run away from your standpoint on a small hint of opposition. Like, but in smoothing and accommodating, you are agreeing to whatever they are saying. The other party, whatever they say, you are agreeing on that. You say, okay, we are ready to accommodate you. But here, you are not even contesting. You retreat from the situation. One party retreats from the situation, avoids to discuss anything at all. And again, this is postponement of issue. Nothing is resolved in this case as well. This is also a very bad approach. But I do understand that in some cases we have to resort to these kinds of strategies as well. Like in war, there is a there is a strategy that if you can't do anything, you should retreat. Right? That is called withdrawal. So withdrawal is very much an official strategy. If you really are in a very weak position and you can't hold your ground, probably you can withdraw. But I would not suggest that as a solution, because that is just postponement of the issue. In military terms, when we withdraw, we don't withdraw to lose. We withdraw to form up our energies and powers, and then attack again, right? So right now we can't face the attack, so we are withdrawing, we are retreating. But again, I would not say that this is a good conflict management strategy or approach. Compromise and reconcile. Now, this is interesting, because we are getting somewhere. In compromise and reconcile is that we are accommodative of others, and we are also ready to compromise. We are not just agreeing with whatever they say, but we are taking on many multiple viewpoints. We are incorporating all the viewpoints. We are discussing them thoroughly. We enable cooperative attitudes, open dialogue to reach consensus and commitment, right? So this is okay. This is okay. This is, I would say, this is normally what we should be targeting at. Well, this does resolve certain issues, but because we are kind of accommodative here, kind of, we are reconciling. But although also we are discussing everything, we are tabling all the concerns. But again, there is a small element of giving away your standpoint. Small element. Maybe you give something and you take something like that after this thorough discussion of multiple viewpoint. But this is the most natural thing which happens in most of the conflicts. Then we have got force and direct. Just like in withdraw and avoid, one party was ready to run away. And here it is the opposite case. One party is stronger than the other party, and they want to force their opinion down the throat of the other party. Because the other party is weaker, they can't really fight it out. So they would withdraw, and this party will force their success. So when there is one party withdrawing, the other party is forcing. So basically, force and direct is you pursue your viewpoint only at the expense of others. The other party is just pushed back to the wall. This offers only a win-lose solution, like the party whose viewpoint is more forceful, they are the winners, and the other party is the loser. Collaborate and problem solving is probably the best mechanism out of all of these. In this, we are doing almost the same thing as we were doing in compromise and reconcile. We are incorporating the several viewpoints and insights from varying perspectives. Now, here we are being a little bit creative as well. So, if I add creativity to the compromise and reconcile, it becomes collaborate and problem solve. And now we have come up with creative ideas. We have got more than the usual multiple viewpoints. We have several viewpoints. We incorporate all of them. We discuss them out, and we try to sit together and resolve the whole issue, whole problem. It requires cooperative attitude. We have to be naturally in an open dialogue with each other. We should have to be very cooperative. But now the only difference is we have a wider canvas. We are just not having multiple viewpoints which are logical, but now we are going a little bit creative as well, and this opens new areas to us for us to discuss on. And again, we can exercise our cooperative attitude and open dialogue and search for solutions that typically lead to consensus and commitment, right? So, if you ask me, out of these five methods, I would say the best and the ideal is collaborate and problem solving. Second best is compromise and reconcile. Uh, Force direct is win, and withdraw avoid is lose. I mean to say, force direct is win lose, and withdraw avoid is lose win. You understand my point? The party
Yep.
who's withdrawing, they are losing, and the other party is winning. So lose win. So force direct is win lose, and compromise reconcile both are kind of close to win win. But I would not say that is a 100% win win. And smooth and accommodate is a lose lose solution. Both parties lose something. Right. But apart from these five methods, there was a person by the name of Edward de Bono. You might have heard about this guy, Edward de
Yes.
Bono. Never?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So this person is known as the father of creativity. He has written more than 80 books in his life on the topic of creativity, and one of those books was Solving the Problems. And he addresses that in a very creative manner. And he says that even all of these methods are not useful at all. And he gives yet another method. Before that, I should introduce to you another thing which is called when you can't resolve your issues, you go, first of all, you try to resolve them amongst yourself, then you take it to the arbitration, right? If you can't resolve them, your issues among themselves, you go to the arbitration. Arbitration, if they decide in your favor, you win, the other party loses. So again, the arbitration also results in a win-lose kind of a situation. Um, because it is just like court is ordering something, so that would be naturally the decision would be in favor of one party. Um, he comes up with another approach. He says, okay, apart from arbitration, there is another method which is called, I'm sorry, I'm just skipping that, mediating.
Yeah.
Mediating means that we have a mediator in between, not an arbitrator, that is not a judge, that is a mediator, and that mediator just conveys, because both parties have gotten into a very strange situation where they cannot talk peacefully with each other. So this mediator goes to one party, listens to them, tones down their message, takes this message to the other party, listens to their message, conveys this message, and tone their message and get it back. And that way he can get them to some kind of consensus, right? So these are not shown here. They are not conflict management strategies. These are arbitration and mediation strategies. But what Edward de Bono says, he says even arbitration and mediation can't resolve all the problems amicably. The best way is very close to the collaborate and problem solve kind of a thing. But like a mediator, he introduces a third party. He says both the parties should sit with a third party who has equal stakes in the game. What I mean to say is a mediator doesn't have equal stakes. A judge or an arbitrator doesn't have equal stakes. But this third party is like a consultant who has equal stakes in the game, and he listens to both parties. He asks them, that is creative exercise. He asks them, when did your conflict start for the first time? They say, okay, it was about 1 month ago. And what was your relationship before this conflict? Was it cordial? And how were you behaving and acting? He said, yes, we were very cordial, we were very good, we were doing things very finely. He said, okay, let us forget about this conflict has ever occurred. What do you imagine if this conflict was not there, where you would have been, where your relationship would have been at this point in time? So both parties discuss that and they come up with a situation that we could have improved our relationship to this level. He said, okay, now this level, which you both are suggesting we should have been there, let us assume that that is your target. Let us forget about whatever has happened and try to build a sequence of events how you can move from your current situation to this ideal situation. So all three parties sit together to plan for that. And ultimately, they come up with, kind of a new future for them, which they achieve in like a project, in a couple of, after some time, maybe a month or two, they can come up to the desired status. Anyways, that is not written in any of these methodologies, any of these books of PMI, but this is one method which I really liked about Edward de Bono, because he wrote a complete book on this topic, and he even suggested that United Nations is a useless body, and he has given a complete framework that if you give me the assignment, I can resolve any international conflict this way, right?
Very good.
Let us talk about, say, Irish people and the British people. What is their conflict? They are from the same kind of land, same kind of people. So he will go and talk to them. What were your relationship before this conflict for the arise for the very first time? Maybe centuries ago. But what was your relationship? How good were you? And how, if that conflict didn't come up, then where you would have been today? So that becomes their target, and they all sit together and forgetting about all what has happened during this time and build a new future for them. And that is the target and that is the project. And they ultimately then tie up into a conflict-less situation. Anyways, did we talk about five whys?
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Do you know what these are? This
Uh,
is a root cause.
it rings a bell. It's quite long ago since I looked at it, so
Okay.
you might want to
It's very, very
explain it to
simple.
me, or I can.
If you face a problem, somebody gives you a problem. Okay, I am late for the office today. You say, okay, why? That is your first why. So that was because could not get the transport, right? You say, why? He says because probably he will give some reason, and you will ask this question five times, and trust me, the fifth answer would be the resolution of the whole problem,
Okay,
right?
I get it.
So that is the root cause analysis. You are trying to dig down to the cause of the problem and then try to resolve it there and then. Normally, you don't have to, fight it out. It is very simple. There are other examples also, but I don't want to waste your time. Let's move on with the slide. And this brings us to the end of lesson number 4.
All right, cool. So on to lesson number 5. We
Yes.
have 99 slides,
Yep. I
and
would start that. I would like to stop.